In live visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi now disembarking his aircraft at Washington, D.C. I see there's a grand welcome over there, and I'm sure it in fact is a cloudy day in Washington, D.C., and that perhaps also explains a bit of a delay in Prime Minister Modi's flight. And I can see a host of dignitaries and the Indian delegation are very much present at the airport right outside. All stationed outside the aircraft, where most of the dignitaries I can see are carrying umbrellas, and Prime Minister Modi is taking a moment to in fact greet some children who have also arrived at the airport. And in fact, this is right outside the aircraft. As soon as Prime Minister Modi in fact disembarked, he's been welcomed by these Indian American children. As we can see, perhaps they are children of some Indian dignitaries or ambassadors. And on the left side of your screen, you can also see the American delegation that has arrived to welcome Prime Minister Modi. And with that, let me quickly go back to Tekendra. Yes, Tekendra, please go ahead and share the challenges that we were discussing about in terms of deepening tech and defense ties.
Right. I mean, there are challenges that we'll see on the global stage, and we'll see challenges in India as well. So one of the ones that I was talking about is I think this the deepening of ties will definitely mean that America will be looking at India and asking, you know, is this a country that is going to be working in closer step with America's views abroad? The second factor is the impact on the Indian middle class. As the country grows, as these companies start entering India, you will see a huge involvement of Indian labor in tech manufacturing. And the question that I have is, will the Indian government be able to assure adequate labor standards for those people, or will those move to the wayside of development?
Right. And in fact, let me also, for the benefit of all our viewers who are tuning into CNN News 18, these are the live and exclusive shots that we're bringing to you of Prime Minister Narendra Modi receiving that grand welcome at the airport in Washington, D.C. And you can see it's a cloudy day. Let's also dip into the live audio. So to a windy and a very rainy day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi receiving still a grand welcome at the airport in Washington, D.C. He's just disembarked the aircraft, where he was greeted not just by the dignitaries from India, but also from the United States. And in a short while from now, let me also take you through what you can expect from this very significant visit of the Indian Prime Minister to Washington, D.C. This is where the most curated interactions between the Indian Prime Minister and the CEOs will also take place. But equally important is the bilateral meet that will take place between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Joe Biden. Not to forget, the Indian Prime Minister will also be addressing a joint meeting of the US Congress. Having said that, this is the visit that's being touted as a turning point for Indo-US ties. Because remember, this is also the first time, even though Prime Minister Modi has visited the United States 6 times already, but during this 7th visit, which is his state visit, is when we can expect a lot to change as far as the existing relationship between the two countries is concerned, especially when it comes to critical emerging technology and even defense ties. In a while from now, you can expect Prime Minister Modi to be attending a very important program which will in fact be focused on skilling for the future, as it's being called. This initiative will be aiming to prioritize skill development and capacity building for the younger population. Tekendra, if you are still with me, I want to ask you about the skill development and the capacity building for younger population, how much it means for US, and of course, as we all know, there's a significant Indian American community which is part of that youth labor force in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, overshadowing all of this is the rise of artificial intelligence, right? And that's going to have a huge impact not only in the US on skilled labor in the United States, but also in India. So one example that I can see artificial intelligence having a huge impact on is BPO and outsourcing, which makes up a large number of the youth workforce in India. The question is, how do we train that workforce, at least in my mind, to overcome the obstacles of what happens when artificial intelligence is able to do some of the basic jobs of customer service better than a human being can. In the United States, we're seeing a similar shift in how skilling workers for the future, where there are questions of how workers will be involved in the green revolution and implementing cleaner technologies. There's obviously the questions around AI as well. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that, because both countries definitely need to be thinking about what it means for the future of work, especially for young people.
And that's a very, very crucial, important point that you're making when it comes to the future of the labor force, not just in the United States, but also in India. Because remember, with the advent of, say, artificial intelligence, which, as we all know, is proving pivotal, there are fears which have already been raised that this may not prove to be as beneficial. But then it's the balance that is what is being targeted.